Hi, I'm Heidi Waldoch, licensed marriage and family therapist and owner of Bridging Hope Counseling. We are located in Rogers, Lino Lakes, and Buffalo, Minnesota. Thank you very much for watching these videos. Please also head on over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel and click the bell to get notifications for new videos. Today I'm going to be talking about, does therapy actually work? I think some of us have had there's been lots of stigmas where we wonder, does it even work? Like, is it even worth my time? You may have heard stories where somebody actually went and it was not helpful. So does it work? Is it useful? Is it something that I should do? Kind of what are answering some of these questions that you might have. So I think a lot of us maybe have grown up with a stigma around mental health. And I would say, even if you are comfortable with mental health and have gone to therapy yourself, you know someone who is not, and have somebody around you who is not. And the way to get people to kind of be comfortable with going to therapy is not just say, go to therapy, this is important, you should do this. That's not the way to do it. So there are reasons why the stigma is around. There's history showing that, like, politicians don't get elected because they had mental health history. The Army and the National Guard, it's part of the vetting process. If you've gone to therapy, that inhibits you from getting opportunities. There's all these things that talk about mental health is a problem, and it really isn't. Like, we all deal with it. We all have depression once in a while. We all have anxiety once in a while. So let's talk about, like, does it actually really work? So the answer is yes. Therapy does actually work. Some things that I would say about this is, it is very different from going to the dentist. It's very different from going to the gym. I think some people use a comparison of that, like, therapy is just as important as going to the gym, and I would agree, but it's very different, and here's why. When you are dealing with something that is very difficult with your family, or with your spouse, or with your children, there's this feeling of shame that shows up, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm dealing with this. I don't know who to talk to. I don't know what I think about this. And then you start kind of going down this rabbit trail of, is there something else wrong with me? Is there more wrong with me? Is there something more wrong with my kids? And you just kind of start making up these things because you're stressed out and you're worried and you're concerned because you don't know. And yes, yeah, talking to somebody would be helpful. But these thoughts kind of start to come up for you. And so there's shame that shows up. So you're in a very vulnerable place. When you go and actually talk to someone, and if that person is not helpful, it squashes you. It's kind of like if you go, how if you have a friend and you, like, open up and you're vulnerable with them and they kind of don't hear you, or you share something with someone that you're really hoping that they would accept you, and they squash you and they're like, I can't believe you'd say that, and really just kind of, you just feel more shame. So when you're in a tough spot and you're struggling with something, you really need to have a safe place to talk about this, where you feel affirmed and where you feel okay. So that's one of the things that I would say. That there are therapists out there that may not use all of the skills that will be helpful for you to feel heard. So you can go to therapy and you might actually have a bad experience. This is very different if you have a bad experience at the dentist. If you have a bad experience at the dentist, you just go to a different therapist. If you have a bad experience with a therapist, you're crushed and you have your head sunk down and you're thinking, oh my gosh, that was horrible. And there's just like this heavy shame. And what I would say is, I would encourage you that when you step into doing therapy, that you have a choice, that you have power in this, and that if there isn't a fit and you do not connect with the person or the therapist that you're meeting with, find somebody different. There is no problem with finding a different therapist and finding somebody else. And this is something that I would say after me experiencing therapy myself, and then also being a therapist and also managing therapists, because we're all different and we are all people, and you have to understand that we are not this, like, ultra on a pedestal perfect person. We are also people too. So you need to understand that when you step into actually going to a therapist. These are just some of the things I think impact people thinking that therapy doesn't work. I went to the therapist and they told me that I was messed up or something. Well, that's not a okay therapist. Go to somebody different. All right. So something else I would say is that it is okay to say you're not okay. we also live in this get her done, I can do it, I can strive through. And so we don't think that it's okay to reach out and actually get a therapist. And so we don't even know if it actually works because we're living in this place of it's not okay to even say I'm not okay. Because here's the deal, therapists are trained. They're trained. We are trained to see patterns. We're trained to teach skills. We are going to give insight that you wouldn't have on your own. So it's part of our job. And if you're going to somebody and you're not experiencing that, find somebody different. Okay. You don't just go and talk about your feelings. That is, yes, that's part of it because that is important. We do need to learn how to talk about our feelings, but that's not all that therapists do. We recognize patterns, we teach coping skills, we teach many different types of skills to help decrease anxiety or depression. We learn to help you to see triggers. We learn to help you to see and get at the root of things so that if there is a choice that you keep making that's unhealthy, why is that? We need to get at the root of it, and we need to look at, wow, if this is something you keep making this choice today, there's a reason why underneath there's this feeling of, oh, I don't feel worthy, I don't feel valuable. Okay, that stems back to something from childhood that we need to go back and we need to process, and we need to say, you're okay, I see you. Oh, that's not what that meant back then. You're able to reprocess it, move forward to today, and be able to see new patterns. Okay. You go back and you are able to see tracking of improvement. There's decrease in depression, decrease in anxiety, increase in communication. You know, you come back and you have somebody that's supporting you. So it's like having a coach. You know, therapists are like coaches where they keep you accountable. Like, wow, I'm actually talking kinder to my spouse. This is great. And I have somebody that can cheer for me and support me. So you cannot fix it on your own. We think that we can. Um, Another thing that some people will think about therapy is that it never ends, that you're going to be in it forever. It ends. Okay. Just like if you say, I'm not okay and I'm struggling, you don't stay not okay. You just say, I'm not okay for this moment. You're able to process, you're able to vent, and you move through it. You don't stay stuck forever. That's the whole point of being able to process and talk through it. We're able to move past the, oh gosh, I don't feel okay, to, wow, I'm able to talk through this. Okay. So therapy does eventually end. We have goals, we have treatment goals. There are things that we're working towards. And then something else that I know some people think is, I'm not broken enough. You know, you might think I'm too normal, you know, like, no, you don't need to be like super broken or have to have this big, huge diagnosis to come into therapy. You might be struggling with your kids or your spouse, or maybe there's something at work that's bugging you. It's super helpful to talk to somebody who's not in your situation, and they can help give you that insight that you wouldn't see and help pull gold out of you and say you are so amazing. And to have someone that just believes in you can really build you up. So how do you know when you should go to therapy? You know, when is a good time? Like, okay, I'm seeing that maybe this works, maybe I'm open to it, but I don't know. So let's say that there are feelings, behaviors, thoughts that are kind of holding you back from doing something. If maybe you're not sleeping very well, if you kind of are maybe struggle to get to sleep or wake up in the middle of the night, maybe you're yelling more and you don't normally yell. So if there's some pattern, there's a shift in behavior that's not how it used to be. Maybe you're consistently not at peace and you would like to know how to get at peace. Maybe you're kind of feeling kind of low. I don't want to use a therapy word here. Kind of numb. Numb would be what I say, where you're just kind of like, I'm just kind of feeling down. I'm kind of feeling nothing. That would be a reason to go. So you can find some joy and kind of pull out some of that, the good stuff about yourself. If there's something from your past that you're feeling stuck from, if you're feeling suicidal or having negative thoughts about yourself, absolutely. And if there's something that you want to improve, maybe there's something with your job or some performance thing that you're wanting to improve, these would be reasons why you would want to come. Also with family issues, you know, not getting along with a spouse or things going on with your kids, those would be reasons why I would say to go. So does therapy work? Yes, it does. I've seen it in my office. I've seen it in all these therapists, the therapist office that we have here. I've experienced it personally myself. I've watched it in other people in my personal life, and I do believe in it. And I think we need to talk about it more. Like, it's not a big deal, but I really wanted to touch on the reason why it's a big deal is because of that shame that people feel. They don't know how to talk about that vulnerability piece and how to process it and how to talk about it. So I just wanted to name that's that like awkwardness about it, and that's kind of that weirdness that we struggle with therapy. So I would love it if you could check out our therapist bios. We had this awesome idea from someone that shared that we should create video bios, since we're still doing a lot of telehealth. We do have people that see clients in the office, but you can go check out the therapist bio, and it's super cool to be able to see them just kind of speak how they would be, so you can get a little insight to it. So thanks very much for watching. Have a wonderful day.